Good Saturday morning. All right, I'm standing on my front deck. That little field there, which really looks like shit through there because it's in the shade a lot. And when we had that 3 inches of rain, it flooded it, drowned it out some. Then there's that little field there. Between the two of them, they don't equal a quarter of an acre. But you can see, I just got to get around the wife's flowers. You can see how they're a pale green looking color. And then we got the piece next to the house here that goes out behind the house. Nice dark shaded green. That's because those two little pieces, I plant something there most every year. Last year I had beans. I actually did harvest them. Not that it was a lot. And the corn I probably won't even. I can sit here at night smoking a cigar, watch the corn out there, you know, waving back and forth, hear the deer trying to rip an ear off. I might just leave those two little pieces for deer. But what I'm getting at is the color difference. Pale green, nice lush green. Alright, that's just got starter fertilizer on it. In other words, what was in the planter. Everything else obviously got side dressed. For me, side dressing is anhydrous. Other people, it could be liquid N, who knows. But now I'm going to show you why. Alright, so I've walked over to this little field across from the house. Okay, the ears on the outside aren't horrid because they get the most sun, the most airflow. I mean, they're not horrid. You start going in, they start getting considerably smaller looking. Will they amount to something? Yeah. If you like, you know, 80, even out here. This isn't horrible. That one's nothing to write home about. That one's really nothing to write home about. Pretty much done with, ooh, it's wet too, because it rained a little bit during the night. Pretty much done with germination. Now let's walk over here. So basically, if you want to get 80 to 100 bushel of the acre, there you go. If you want to get a lot more, here you go. Now farmers who are following, you can agree or disagree, I don't care. But I think you're going to agree you cannot get a good crop just going with starter fertilizer. You need some kind of, corn runs out of nitrogen. Hey, there's dew on the lens there. Corn will not go the full season without extra nitrogen because it runs out. Like I said, I use anhydrous. I do it after I plant. You've all seen it. Some guys put it on in the fall. Some guys put it on pre-plant. It's in the soil. The plant gets it when it needs it. Some guys use liquid N, liquid nitrogen, 28%, 32%, whatever. Some guys use, you know, dry fertilizer, super U, urea. But here's what this looks like, and this is all on the outside, so take that into consideration. Something's been chewing on the end of that one. But these are very enormous, but they're on the outside. Some of them are getting a second ear, which I don't like because it's just a sucker ear. It takes away from the first ear. Some of them will actually make a halfway decent second ear that are on the outside here, but not when you get into the field. So let's go over here and let's go into the field. Let's go past the headlands. There's another thing, headlands. Headlands or end rows, doesn't matter. Depends on what part of the country you're in as to what you call it. So, all right, I gotta go 24 rows in until I get to the back and forth rows. So I'm turning you off for a minute. All right, I just cleaned the camera off. As you can see, I'm wet because the corn is kind of wet. Should have waited a little later in the day to do this. All right, so here's what the ears are looking like You can see they're almost completely pollinated. That's when your silks, aka hairs, you can call them hairs, I'll let you, turn all brown. But you can also see these ears. I mean, they're not bad, don't get me wrong, but they're considerably smaller than what's out there along the edge. You know, you look over into the next row, they're not bad at all. Don't, you know, like I said, don't get me wrong. Let me see if I can do this one-handed. That one's got some tip back, probably from when, you know, an inch from when we were really dry early. But now we've been getting rain pretty consistently when we've needed it. It's a bitch to do with one hand. That one's got quite a bit of tip back. This is why I think the USDA, you know, and that one's not even yellowed yet, so we got a ways to go, but that's not going to fill out much past there. So that's why I think the USDA is a little off on their, you know, great yields, because there's a lot of tip back on corn, and we've had moisture lately. But those are good looking ears of corn, but they've got a ways to go still, as you can see. And oh, the second ears in here, I mean, you don't see them making ears like you did out there on the edge, which is good, because we don't want them. They're nothing but, they just take away from the main ear. So, but I would call this, you know, looking pretty decent out in here. But you don't ever get as great, you know, it always looks better on the outside. More sun, more airflow, more everything. All right, now I get to walk through that jungle right there and get all wet again, because as you can see, the dew and shit that's all over the leaves. So I'm turning you on. All right, now I'm over to the barn. There's that other little field that's across from the shed there. The other one's across from my house. So the reason I showed you this, I'm gonna walk into the barn. You can see the barn swallows flying around. The rotten pieces of shit. Look at them down there. You can probably hear them. They shit all over everything. But anyways, the reason I showed this, okay, because like I said, this is mainly for you non-farmers, because I want you to understand. If you plow up a sod lot, non-farmers, what I mean by sod, most of you probably understand, is a hayfield or a grass lot, and you just use your starter fertilizer, that's better, because the sod will have, you know, you'll get a little extra nitrogen out of that. But at least here where we live, if you want to get somewhere between 150 and 200 bushel the acre corn, you can't just put whatever you're going to put on for your starter fertilizer, whether it's through the planter, dry or liquid, whether it's spread, you know, through a fertilizer spreader and then dished into the ground. You will run out of nitrogen before the end of the season, which is why that corn looks pale green compared to the other. So that's, I mean, that's 35 plus years of experience, I'm just telling you. So when you see farmers that say they can just get away with their starter fertilizer at the beginning of the season, God bless them and good luck, because I don't see how they can. But no, I'm in the old dairy barn for a reason, because apparently, like my last video with the GMO stuff, pissed a few people off. And then on Instagram, I think I pissed a few people off, because Natalie Kavorik, the Kavoriks, they have a YouTube channel, and Natalie Kavorik is on Instagram also. They're beef ranchers in Nebraska. They were talking about, you know, debunking the whole grass-fed versus grain-fed and all this kind of stuff. And there was a person who made a comment that, and I hammered them a little on their comment on her Instagram post about the, well, I don't care about all that, it's just I don't want to get the, you know, stuff that's got antibiotics in it. All right, so I'm gonna piss some more people off today too. you're not getting any fucking meat or milk or any dairy products, cheese, ice cream, anything that has antibiotics in it. All right, here's my old milk house. Now granted, okay, don't get all bent out of shape, people. This is August 2023. It's August 12th. I sold my cows August 4th, 2011. The barn's been empty for 12 years. Here's the old milk house. Okay, the milk tank sat this way. This hay and stuff was in here for Buddy when he was alive. The milk tank sat this way. There's the pipeline coming in where the came in and went through this pre-cooler, and we put it into the tank and whatnot. That little door right there goes to the outside, which is where the milk truck driver put his hose through and hooked it to the end of the milk tank, which was over here. But anyways, when the milk truck driver came in, I don't know, it might be dark in here. When the milk truck driver came in, he hooks his hose up. He takes a sample of the milk, puts it in a little bottle. This was a straight truck, so I don't know how many farms he picked up. So if he picked up 10 or 15 farms, you know, including mine, he took a sample of every farm he went to and put it in the truck. So that truck, let's say it held 20 ton, 40,000 pounds of milk. And then they took it back to, and I shipped to Burn Dairy at that time. So then they took it back to Burn Dairy. These swallows just want to run into me, and they're pissed off that I'm standing in here keeping them from coming in. Because look, they put nests everywhere. It's the sons of bitches everywhere. Now that the barn's empty. I hate them. Anyways, off topic. They take the milk back to Burn Dairy. If that tanker truck tests positive for antibiotics, it cannot be, it gets dumped. Generally, it gets brought back to the farm who's at fault, and they dump it there. Now, if that tanker truck tests positive, they go through every one of those samples. Like again, I don't know how many farms they would pick up. Let's say 10. So they go through all 10 of our samples. Let's say I was the culprit. I milked the cow that was on antibiotics and it went in the tank. I pay for that whole truckload of milk that has to be dumped. They bring it out to my farm and dump it somewhere. I don't get to ship milk for like a week afterwards. I have to dump my milk as a penalty. Not only did I pay for that truckload of milk, but I don't get to ship milk for a week. So this bullshit of, oh, antibiotics, I don't want to drink that milk from a cow that had antibiotics, or eat that beef from a cow that had antibiotics. Have they had it in the past? Yes, possibly. If your child has an ear infection and you go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, we need to put them on like prednisone and antibiotics for 7 to 10 days to get rid of it, do you do that? Does that mean that your child is been on antibiotics their entire life because they got sick once and were put on antibiotics? There's some cows that were in this barn when I milked cows. I'll take a stroll through the barn. It's a little dark in here, and I got my sunglasses on, but we're an old tie stall barn. These were old mattresses that Buddy used to lay on. Yeah, look, he tore the shit out of them. But we had 65 stalls plus the 3 big box stalls at the end of the barn here where they used to calve. They used to go out that way for the pasture, which is now our lawn and the pool. But there was cows in this barn that probably never had antibiotics or anything because they never got sick. And then there was other ones that did get sick. And rather than let them die, we treated them. And while we treated them, their milk was withheld. We had things that we could test the milk to know when it was good to go. The bottles look at these bastards. God. The bottles of antibiotics told you how long you had to withhold the milk. So you withheld it. And then if you were smart, you tested it before you put it back in. Do you send, your cats and dogs? Do you get them dewormed? Stuff like that at the veterinary? But yet, farmers aren't supposed to do that kind of stuff with their animals because, oh, it's horrible. This whole GMO and antibiotics and all this kind of shit, you know. It's like when organic came out, and I'm not bashing you organic farmers. I am bashing some of you actually, because when organic came out, you bashed the shit out of everybody else. Organic is so much better for you. Then everybody got on the bandwagon and started doing, you know, natural. That was a new word. Oh, this is all natural. All natural. What the fuck is all natural? You know, then it was grass-fed versus grain-fed and all that. Whatever. I mean, it's your preference, but are you never going to eat again? Because you're afraid of everything that's been pounded into your head. You know, my favorite thing, I keep telling you about how we just pound shit into people's heads and they believe it. But you are not eating any milk. You are not drinking or eating any milk, drinking any milk, or eating any dairy products like cheese, ice cream, whatever, that has antibiotics in it. Because that is illegal. I don't milk cows anymore. Haven't in 12 years. Farmers can't ship milk or meat that has antibiotics in it. Have they had it before? Yes, some have, for a good reason. Just like you have for a good reason, or your kid has for a good reason. But I get so sick and tired of this bullshit of, so go ahead and eat your lab-grown meat that fucking Bill Gates wants to make for you, and the bugs that he wants you to eat. All right, I need to clarify something. Yeah, I wanted to get that in the picture too. You know, yeah. Before people jump down my throat, because earlier when I was walking away from the little field across from my house there, I said this is pretty much fully germinated. Obviously, it germinated a long time ago. I meant pollinated, because the silks, aka hairs, were turning black. So the main reason I'm just doing this video is because I'm so sick and tired of ignorant people, in plain English. Ignorant people. I mean, kudos to Natalie Kovarik for trying to be out there telling people the truth, you know. You want to eat grass-fed? Eat grass-fed. You want to eat grain-fed? Eat grain-fed. It's your preference. There's nothing wrong with either. I mean, it doesn't, everybody thinks that, oh, well, they're eating that grain-fed and the grain, the GMOs and all the, do you think the hay, the alfalfas and the different kind of grasses today are the same as what they were 50, 60, 70 years ago? That they haven't been bred to be better? That's GMO. I know somebody in the comments in my last video, they made the comment that, well, just because they breed two different, like varieties, two different seeds together to come up with a better seed, that's not GMO. Yes, it is. You're genetically modifying that by taking two different things to make a new thing. You're not taking two of the same thing because you're going to get the same thing. You're taking two different things, combining them to try and make a new thing. Okay, that's the problem, like with the GMO and everything. Everybody just thinks, like I said, they think of a syringe, because that's what this, I just remembered that, which is why I wanted to say this again. That's what that person put in their comment on Natalie Kovarik's Instagram. They put a picture of a syringe. And I'm thinking, yep, that person has had this just beaten into their head so many times. So, and as far as like the whole organic thing, I know there's probably some organic farmers that follow me, and I'm not trying to piss you off, but I think I'm going to take a little drive here because I want to explain one thing about organic. I'm going to go show you some organic corn on a dairy farm. And, okay, you see my fields, other than my wonderful, F up here on the headland where I didn't kill my volunteer corn because I was a dummy, but I killed it in the rest of the field. You don't see very many weeds in that field, do you? Matter of fact, I don't see any because I sprayed for them and I killed them. You don't see very many weeds in my cornfields. I mean, I didn't really show the ground when I was in there, but why? Because I sprayed for them to kill them, to help the crop. Okay, when an organic farmer chops their corn, they're going through and they're chopping the entire thing for you non-farmers versus us grain farmers who are just going through with that thing, the combine and the corn head, which is not here anymore because they're fixing it. But I'll do more of this in the fall, where it's just ripping the stalk down through, knocking the ear off, sending it through the combine, and the rest of it gets, you know, blown out onto the ground. Dairy farm is chopping everything. The whole plant, grinding it up. It's either going into an upright silo, you know, like my old silos, or going into a feed bunk, like you see on Andy Horrigan's videos, Farming, Fixing, and Fabricating. That cow is eating everything that chopper ground up, including the weeds that they couldn't get killed. I mean, yes, they go through and, you know, cultivate between the rows and stuff until the corn gets too big that they can't do that anymore. But after that, whatever weeds that are there, so that cow is eating those weeds along with that ground up corn, and then you're drinking that milk. Am I saying that's bad for you? No, because I'm not going to sit here and try and, you know, I'm not going to bash them, but I'm just stating a fact. So, and like I said, we're going to take a drive right now and go look at some. All right, here's some organic corn. I'll slow down so you can see better. And I'm not bashing the farmer. But look at the weeds out in there, which is why the corn don't look so good. These weeds are sucking up the moisture and nutrients that the corn can be using. When that gets chopped, all of that gets chopped. All of that gets chopped and fed to the cow that you're drinking the organic milk from. Here's some organic soybeans. You can hardly see the soybeans. You can see the soybeans in there. I think my combine would cry going through that. Look at the velvet leaf. I mean, it is what it is, folks. I'm not saying that the organic people or farmers are bad, but that's what organic looks like. Here's some more organic soybeans. Lots of weeds. Here's some more organic corn. Let me pull over this side of the road so you can even see it better. See the weeds out in there? Some of them are half the size of the corn. Some of them are almost as tall as the corn. All of that's going to go into that cow that's producing that organic milk. Here the weeds are taller than the corn. Here's some more organic corn. You can see the weeds right here on the outside in the first few rows. How tall it is. Alright, I'm back to the shop. I just heard a rumble of thunder. Because yes, we're supposed to get chances of thunderstorms this afternoon. It's getting very humid and the wind's starting to pick up. But anyways, I'm going to end this video. Go to the Grumpy Farmer Apparel link. Get your Grumpy Farmer apparel. I know we ship to the UK and Canada. Some of you, I think I had one person from Brazil that was mad because we couldn't ship there. If you're someplace where it says we can't ship to, Kathy at Mad Moose said call them. We'll see if we can figure something out. So if you want, you know, you're somewheres around the world, call them. All right, like I said, I'm gonna end this. This is your one more thing. This was not a bashing organic, bashing grain-fed, bashing grass-fed, whatever. This is not a bashing video. This was a video to, you need to see everything before you can make a choice, rather than just get shit pounded down your head. You know, kind of like the hokey pokey. Take this, you won't get it. Oh wait, that didn't work. Take this, you won't get it as bad. Yeah, I love that one. Like the polio vaccine years ago was for lesser polio, apparently. But whatever. But you should know the good, bad, and indifferent from day one. I bet you there's a lot of people that didn't realize how weedy organic corn looked, and the fact that there's no way to separate those weeds when you chop it. So, am I saying it's bad? Am I saying it's good, bad, or indifferent that that cow is eating all that? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I know I don't want to eat weeds. I don't want to eat lab-grown meat, and I don't want to eat bugs, but it's your choice. You want to pay $9-10 a gallon for organic milk because you think it's better for you than the $4 a gallon milk? It's your choice. You want to pay more for organic beef or something like that, or more for grass-fed compared to grain-fed, or more the other way, whatever? It's your choice. But you should know everything from the beginning to make your own decision, rather than just making decisions based on what's pounded into your head. I'm not pounding anything into anybody's head. I'm just trying to tell you what is. So, again, it's your choice. That's probably the name of this video. You obviously have already seen the name of the video. I'm out.